antinatalism movement has become a much bigger movement.
It's become a thing. I mean, when I first started, no one was talking about anti-humanism. No one was talking about antinatalism. In general, we were facing a very uphill climb. And 30 years later, that's not the case. 30 years later, there's a much more receptive audience to these ideas. But as you say, a lot has changed in those 30 years. And so because of that, the message has changed, and also I've changed.
Yeah, I think society and a lot of the predictions kind of with the climate have changed. I think a lot of people, even without knowing about the antinatalism kind of idea, have just started to be like, why would I invest in this future? You know, because having a child, there is a big kind of like, you're like, fuck, my kids are gonna be alive to 2100. It's like, and this thing that you're supposed to love, to gamble with their futures, like your albums speak about, is a really crazy thing to do. You know, it's like, it's a very almost human selfish thing to do, but also for the future. But there are some futures, even in the most dystopian novels, that still the human experience is somewhat viable. Do you find like there to be any space, or just less humans, not total human extinction?
Yeah, that's a different group.
Yeah.
Even back in 92, we had competition. I mean, let's not call it that. It was more like we shared the space. And one of the groups we shared the space with was Vehement, the voluntary human extinction movement. I always regarded them as a little more dogmatic.
Yeah.
You know, their attitude is the correct number of humans is 0. That's fine. I can respect that. I understand their views, and they were definitely an influence. But that's not my view. Yeah. My view is that it's out of balance, and that if we were willing to put the work into balancing it, it could all be made to work. Essentially, I think the Church of Euthanasia is quite different from that. I think if you had to reduce it to a sentence, it would be that it's looking like humans are too stupid to run a global civilization, that we're just not up to the job.
Yeah.
And if we were up to the job, now would have been the time to prove that. Like any time within the last 30 years, we should have proved that. And so if humans are too stupid to run a global civilization, then we've got a fork in the road. There are only kind of 2 real directions. One direction is we keep going the stupid way we're going and consuming more and more, and basically driving Earth further and further into overshoot. And in that direction, sooner or later, somewhere down the road, there's an ecological collapse. Most of us will die. Most of the non-humans will die. We'll have something like a mass extinction, except it'll affect us as well. And then who knows what happens after that. But whatever happens after that, it won't be pretty. Maybe there's a kind of Mad Max thing with some humans hanging on, or maybe it's just Planet of Reptiles, like I said on the album.
With an overshoot,
Right, with Slacker, Avenging Angels of Software basically explores that. On the bright side, reptiles like it hot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the temperatures that we're proposing to raise the surface of the Earth to are more favorable for reptiles than they are for mammals. This is just a simple scientific fact. In very, very hot climates, reptiles have the edge. So that's the direction that's headed. That's the business as usual direction. And, that seems pretty stupid to me. And it's also not the only possibility. Another possibility would be that humans just kind of back it off.
That's the thing. There's like the human story is like this hero story, right? Where maybe it's just dumb luck, but we always mess it up right to the point.
Yeah.
But maybe with climate change, you can't go right to the point because it's a thing.
Yeah, because of the overshoot.
Exactly.
Because there's so much inertia.
Sure.
And so you push the climate system and you put all that CO2 in the atmosphere, and it literally takes centuries for it to come back out. And if we've learned anything from the last centuries, it's that humans don't plan very well on century timescales. In fact, it's all we can do to plan 10 years into the future. Maybe the Chinese.
Yeah.
But most of us just can't plan that far ahead, and we really struggle with that. We struggle with long-term vision. So anyway, there's this other possibility, this kind of unlikely possibility that humans just decide to shape up and back it off and start cooperating on a global scale, and everything becomes cool. I consider that kind of the least likely. The third possibility, and the one that I explored on the album with Slacker, is the possibility that we actually just end up ceding the planet to something smarter than us. And this is something that I've only become interested in the last 5 years or so. Because
like singularity kind of AI.
The singularity. It's only become interesting in the last 5 years because it's only in the last 5 years that this has started to emerge as a real possibility.
Exactly.
And now suddenly we have guys like Yann LeCun and other AI researchers seriously saying in the public sphere that they expect AGI, they expect artificial general intelligence.
35? Is it 25?
Yeah, to occur within the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's like 2035, I think.
2035, yeah. So suddenly that's the
Kurzweil scale.
No longer hypothetical. Like we're actually apparently working towards that.
Yeah.
And we're just going to kind of take the consequences, whatever they are.